some chapters were like 40 pages, and that is a lot. I couldn't do it. So hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Hope you are doing great. I can't believe it is already 2024. 2023 flew by so fast and we are ready for a new year. I can't wait to see what 2024 brings to me and brings to the YouTube channel, and well, what books it is bringing, because that's the fun part and the exciting part. So in today's video I am going to share to you my December wrap up. So I'm going to share to you the books that I read during the month of December, and a little disclaimer, it was more than I was expecting, and some of the books that I wanted to get to I did not end up getting to. And also I'm going to combine my January TBR, and I'm going to share with you 2 readathons that I am going to be participating during this month of January. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to know a little bit more about my book adventures. So I'll see you with the books. So I did read a mix of books during the month of December. Mostly I did read, I think it was 2 romances and the rest were mostly fantasy or sci-fi. I also want to say that I only have 3 books in physical with me, and the other ones I did either read on Audible or I did read on my e-reader. So I don't have the physical copy, but I will try to put the cover somewhere on the screen, so it will be easy for you to see what book I am talking about. So let's start with the books and what I think of them and how many stars I did give them in the end. So the first book that I'm going to talk to you about is Iron Widow by Sharon J. Zhao, and I did listen to this book on audio during my morning walks, and I ended up giving it 4 stars in total, like 4 solid stars. If you see me looking down, I have all the annotations that I want to say in my phone, so I'm going to be looking a little bit at them so I don't forget any point that I want to talk about in this video. And the reason that I give it 4 stars was because I love the fact that it was a sci-fi. I don't read many sci-fis, I tend to read more fantasies, and actually I think it was one of the first sci-fi books that I ever read in a while, and also because it was the first book that I ever read on audio, and I honestly loved the experience of listening to a book. And although I did feel a little bit lost at some times and I felt like I couldn't get some of the key points for the story, I honestly did really enjoy to listen to an audiobook, because it was something different for me other than the physical copies that I am usually inclined to read. So other than that, I love the idea of the story and the feminist aspect of it. I think it was really interesting to see main characters so focused on her goals and so focused on getting revenge for what they did to her sister. And also I love the idea of the main character, the female main character, being like the villain of the story. I think that was amazing. And also I really enjoyed both of main male characters. I think they were very interesting and they were very different from each other, and I think that gave another depth to the book. Also, in the end, what caught my attention was the twist, because I was not expecting that to happen. So I was like, oh my god, I was not really expecting that. So in the end I can say that I'm very excited for the second book of Iron Widow to come out. It comes out this year in April. I think it's called Heavenly Tyrants. I can try to put the cover on the screen, and I am very excited for it, to read more about these characters and to know a little bit more of their story and how the story progresses in the next books. So the second book that I read during the month of December, I was reading it at the same time that I was hearing to Iron Widow, and it was Icebreaker by Anna Grace. This was the first romance of the two romances that I read during the month of December, and I gave it, I think, 4 stars. But in the end I was a little bit of disappointed, not because I did not enjoy the book, but because I wanted to know more about the characters. I wanted to know more about the story besides how the story ends, because it ends in like, oh, X years from here, and I wanted to know more about their lives after the book events. What made me enjoy this book was because I could see the evolution of the characters, especially Anastasia, our main character, when she started to see how Heron was very toxic for her and was not as much of a good friend as she thought he was, and how she was able to simply like get rid of him in some way. So I think that was one of the reasons why I enjoyed this book, because I could see a little of evolution in the characters. My third and fourth read of the month are connected to each other because it's the first book and the second book of a new series that is going to be released, and that is, of course, well, not of course, but that is Fourth Wing. I have the 2 copies here, my Fourth Wing copy and my Iron Flame copy. I did read both of these books during the month of December, and what I have to say is this was definitely my favorite book of the month. I gave both them of 5 stars, not 4. I gave them both 5 stars, and I can say to you that this is definitely my new favorite book ever. I really enjoyed Fourth Wing. I loved the characters. I loved all of it about it. I loved the dragons. I loved the main relationship, the main romance. I loved everything. What I have to say is I know of all the controversy that is going on about Fourth Wing, that the author was not original when creating a story, that she went and got inspiration for some other books. But in the end, what I have to say is, although I understand they say, I think it's only one opinion and we are all free to have them once again. And in this case, my opinion is that I love this book even more because it was my first time ever reading a Dragons book, so I think that's why I loved it, and it left such a big impact on me. So I definitely love this. I loved everything about it. I love the setting, I love the dragons, I love the characters, how they are connected with each other, how their friendships work, how their relationships work. I love the romance, I love the dragons, especially I love Tern, Violet's dragon, and I hated, like everyone else, I hated Liam's death. And sorry for the spoiler, if you have not read Fourth Wing, I definitely hated his death. It was the saddest part for me, and I cried the whole time. It was the only time that I cried during Fourth Wing, and I am not usually someone that cries over a book, but in that part, damn, I did cry, so I am not ashamed of it. This is my opinion of Fourth Wing. I loved it as much that I had to read Iron Flame. In the moment that I finished Fourth Wing, I am so happy that I did read these books, so much so that I ended up tabbing Iron Flame, and I want to do a reread of Fourth Wing to be able to tab it as well. This is my most disappointing reading of the month, and it is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Well, I had to DNF this book. I had to. I was not interested in it at all. I didn't like the characters, I didn't like the story, and although I don't like to talk bad about books, honestly, this book was not it for me. I did not enjoy anything, and it has multiple point of views, but the way she changes the point of views is so confusing, and she's like, in one chapter she has like all the point of views, and I'm like, okay, so who is talking now? Because you really can tell only when you start getting more into the story is when you can tell who is talking. But other than that, I was very lost. I did not enjoy this. Maybe I will give it another try sometime, but not now, because I really was not a fan of it. So this is my most disappointing book of the month, Spinning Silver, and I had to DNF it. The other romance that I did read was Hooked by Emily McIntyre, and this was the second romance that I read, or better, listened, because I did listen to this book on audio on Audible, and it was my very first dark romance. At least I think it's quoted as a dark romance. I gave this book 4 stars, but it was to me like a medium but solid 4 stars. It was not like, oh, it's almost a 3 stars. No, it was a really medium and solid 4 stars. About the book, I felt like the plot was interesting, especially the feud that James, also known as Hook, had with Wendy's father. For me, the end was also a twist that I was not expecting it, although I did figure it out in the middle when some hints starting to show about the character that I'm talking about in the end and what he did. I was kind of expecting it already, but it was also kind of interesting to know that my suspicions were correct. I also was not expecting for Wendy to do what she did in the end. That was really wow, and well, I was like, damn, I was not expecting that, but it was a fun book. It was sexy, I can say, and in the end I did enjoy it. The last book that I read during the month of December was Wicked King by Ollie Black, and I also gave it a 4 stars because I am so far liking the Folk of the Hair trilogy, and I also like the main characters. I like Jude, and especially in this book because you can see in this book how she wants power, and we can see how that power gets into her head and the decisions that she makes to get that power that she always wanted and she always craved for. But to me, the biggest evolution in this book was definitely Carden, because he went from someone who wanted to be seen to someone who was seen as the High King, because in the end he made some pretty tough decisions, and he ended up, to me, he ended up being as cunning as the ones who he disliked towards Jude. So, just to sum it up, I am really curious to read the last book because I want to know how the story ends, because I can predict anything about it right now. Also, I really enjoyed once again that the villain was the main character of the story, because to me, I like that kind of story where the main character ends up to be the villain. This is all the reads that I did during the month of December, and to sum it up, I did have 1 DNF, a bunch of 4 stars, and 2 5 stars. So I think it was a pretty good month. So my rating corresponds to that. And now I am going to talk to you about the readathons that I'm going to participate during the month of January. So, talking about readathons, I'm going to do 2 readathons, although one of them is going to be like a longer readathon and not a month specifically readathon. The 2 readathons that I'm going to participate during the month of January are TBRathon and Moonlight University Readathon, which is on its first semester. So I am quite excited about this readathon, which I'm going to talk about it in just a moment. TBRathon first. It was created by Leandra the TBR Zero here on YouTube, and if I'm not wrong, on other social medias as well, if you want to check her out. This readathon basically focuses on reading the books that we already have on our TBRs, on our TBR shelves, since that is Leander's goal. She wants to have as little books as possible on her TBR shelf. So she created 5 maps that we can follow during this TBRathon, and I'm going to present to you the maps that she created. The first map that I want to talk about is Trail Map. It's a map where you are doing a trip from your car to a bookshop. Basically, you can choose whatever path you want in the map to get to the bookshop. Also, if you want to have a bit more of a challenge, you can go from the bookshop to your car again, doing a different path that you original did. Yeah, the next map that I'm going to talk to you about is Bingo Board, the one that I'm going to do during this month, because to me it's the easiest one and it is really self-explanatory what it is. You have to just do a bingo with the books that you read during the month. The map has prompts in each one of the squares and you just have to match the books with the prompts that you have. The next one is the to be rolled game board, and this one is your typical game board. You roll a dice, you get a number, and then you count the houses of the number that is on the dice, and the prompt that it is on the house is the prompt that you have to match your book to. The only rule of this readathon is that you use the books that you already have, so you won't be buying any more books because that's not what Leandra wants. She wants us to read the books that we have on our TBRs. The next board that we have is the this or that scavenger hunt. So it gives you a list of this or that and you can choose the one that fits you better. This one, as I think Leandra said, it's the best one for someone who wants to be a mood reader, so you can simply choose like a book and see if it fits one of the questions, one of the this or that, and simply fill it up. And the last board that we have is the book chain. So what is a book chain? At least from the way that I did understand it, the book chain is every book has to be connected in some sort of way. Like if you want to read only green color books, you can. So this is the best way that I can explain this. This is the 5 boards that Leandra created for us. I will leave the link down below to her video announcement if you want to join us. The second readathon that I'm going to be participating in, it's called the Moonlight University Readathon, and this one is basically theme-based readathon, and there is 3 themes, which are House of Venus, House of Saturn and House of Uranus, and basically we are some exchange students from Earth who are assigned to this boarding school, and we need to fulfill some classes to be able to join our extracurricular clubs and therefore win some points to our houses. Each house has its unique characteristics and description, and you can choose the one that fits you best. So everything is explained in the readathon Discord. I will leave the posts that I saw on Instagram about this readathon down below, so if you want you can check it out and know a little bit more about it, but definitely join the Discord because it has a more in-depth explanation of it. It will be a fun experience to do and something different for me to do because it's like in university. It's not like a readathon that when it comes to an end, it ends. No, we are going to have some more semesters, so I'm very curious and I want to really participate in this readathon. So this is the last part. I know you are tired of hearing me, but this is the last part of this video. I just want to share with you what I'm going to be reading and what prompts that I'm going to be using them for both of the readathons that I'm going to participate in. The first one is this one, and it is A Court of Frost and Starlight. Everyone knows these books, everyone knows this series, and I'm going to be using this one for TBRathon in the blue cover prompt and for Moonlight University in Astrology 197. The next book that I'm going to be reading is Wildfire by Anna Grace. This is the second book of the Maple Hills series, and in TBRathon I'm going to be using this for the first POV, and in Moonlight University I'm going to be using it for Math 311. The third book that I hope I can get to is a book that was on my December TBR, and it is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, and for TBRathon I'm going to be using it in the prompt of Go to Read, and Moonlight University I'm going to be using it in History 265. The fourth read that I hope to get to is Father Unknown by Leslie Pierce, and I'm going to be using it for TBRathon on the prompt Old and maybe Dusty, and Moonlight University I'm going to using it in Math 308. The next book that I have, and I'm not yet so sure if I am going to be able to get to this book. It's Belladonna by Adeline Grace, and on TBR I'm going to be using it on Nice to Meet You, New to You author, and on Moonlight University I'm going to be using it on Astrology 195. And definitely, but not least, it's the last book that I have for January. I once again don't know if I will be able to get to this. The next book is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book is very popular right now, and in TBR I'm going to be using it on the Get Started. It's like first in the series prompt, and then on Moonlight University I'm going to be using it for History 263. I have showed you the books that I'm going to be reading or I plan to read during the month of January. I have also showed you the 2 readathons that I plan on doing. I hope you enjoyed it. If you had fun, think of giving it a thumbs up, it would mean a lot to me, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to know a little bit more of my reading adventures. And I think I will see you in the next video with some fun book adventures. So I will see you all in my next one. Bye bye!